So year 11, we're now moving on to video 7. The next series of videos is going to be focusing on a certain aspect of life in Nazi Germany from the moment Hitler becomes Chancellor in 1933 to the war years 1939 to 1945. So there'll be shorter videos and they'll be focused on individual areas of society. The first one that we're going to focus on is how the Nazi policies or how Nazi rule affected women. This is particularly important if you're going to be answering what could be an 8-mark question about in what ways did Nazi policies affect the lives of women. So understanding the different areas of life that were affected and being able to explain them is going to be important for your exam. So let's look at what the Nazis did. Now, before the Nazis were actually in charge, so we go back to Weimar Germany, women actually had a lot of rights, and women had the right to vote, were in well-paid jobs, and if you were a woman in the Weimar Republic, you were having rights that were kind of almost not known throughout the whole of Europe, and you actually had a really strong position and a lot of fair rights. It would have been really well off as a woman in Weimar Republic. However, the Nazis come in and want to change that. The Nazis, when they become in charge of the country, have this idea, or they have 3 aims. Their aims being increasing the birth rate. Obviously that's something that is required for armies in the future and making sure you have more loyal Nazis. A suitable marriage, making sure that women are getting married to be able to have these children and good solid relationships. And finally, these women stay at home, they look after the family, look after the children, and look after a good home and be a good housewife. So that's increasing the birth rate, that's having a suitable marriage, and that's staying at home, being a good housewife, looking after children, the house, and raising good, loyal Nazi children. A way to remember what the Nazis wanted women to do is their promotion was the 3 Ks. Okay? Kinder, Kutsch and Kirch. Children, cooking and church. The idea is those 3 encompass a good housewife. So the KKK, children, cooking and church. So what did the Nazis do? Let's actually go through some of the key policies the Nazis introduced. One of the first things, or one of the things that the Nazis do during their time, is they ban certain jobs for women, or they sack women from highly paid, highly skilled jobs. Doctors, lawyers, for example. So restricting women from getting to those top levels of employment, earning the most amount of money. They also banned them from things like jury service. Women weren't seen as being capable of being able to decide on the guilt of anybody in a trial, so they were banned from jury service. Propaganda at this time reflected a lot of those ideas. So we've said they banned from certain positions and banned from those highly paid jobs, and propaganda reflected that idea of women not working and being at home. Propaganda portrayed a idyllic family life where women with blonde hair and blue eyes, ideally, would have children and a husband in a nice home with food, seen as a well-rounded family, which the woman would be part of. Women were also encouraged in a lot of their propaganda and a lot of the messages given out to not wear high heels, to not wear makeup, to be sporty and athletic, but also have wide childbearing hips. The idea was there was that natural beauty and going back to traditional values rather than more modern ideas that maybe would have been around in 1920s, the golden years. As well as this propaganda campaign and these banning from jobs, we also have other ways to try and help them achieve their aims. Now, in terms of wanting to have children, that's where the Nazi policies really come into effect. So one of the first things was giving loans to newly married couples. So a newly married couple would get a loan from the German government, which was very significant at the time, the amount of money that they were given. These loans, the amount of money you had to pay back was reduced for every child you had, and once you had 4 children, you didn't have to pay that loan back at all. So there's an incentive to get married and have children, and you'd be getting money from the government in that respect. So actually, a lot of people might have thought, I can get more money by having more children. So it was an incentive to go and have more babies. What else did they do? They award medals of honour, or not medals of honour, the Honour Cross for German women. Now for 4 children you had a bronze medal, for 6 children you had a silver medal, and for 8 children you had a gold medal. These medals were a source of pride. If you could get this medal, you were seen as a hero, seen as somebody well respected in the community for achieving this specific honour, which would be given to soldiers on the battlefield if you were a man. We also have the banning of contraception. Obviously, the Nazis want to increase the birth rate. Banning contraception was an obvious policy for them. We also have a very extreme example of the Nazis trying to increase the birth rate with the Lebensborn program. That's where single women could donate a baby to the Führer. That's where they would have sex with SS men, perfect Aryan race soldiers, to donate a baby to the Führer. The SS soldier was not required to look after, pay childcare for that child. But the idea that a perfect, idyllic German man could impregnate a woman was seen as something that could promote the master race in Nazi Germany. So let's remind ourselves of some of those key things that affected life, and let's link them to that exam question. There could be other exam questions on this. It could be a 4-marker linking to the sources, or a 4-marker describe question, but the way I think about it is if you know how to answer the 8-mark question, that could be a really key way into understanding about women. You could expand it for a 12-marker or reduce it for a 4-marker. So if the question was, in what ways were the lives of women affected by Nazi policies, we could tackle it in various ways. We could think about how propaganda affected their lives and actually brainwash them to believe in a certain way. So the way they should dress, being sporty, not wearing makeup, childbearing hips, etc. So the way the image of what a woman should look like. We could also say it affected their opportunities and their wealth. So it affected their opportunities and wealth in terms of restricted them from some of the important jobs that they would have had under the Weimar government, but it also maybe gave them more money by having those marriage loans that they didn't have to pay back. You could also talk about women and their career prospects in that respect, but you could also talk about their career prospects when you think about the effect of Nazi policies on having children and the families they are creating. Maybe a woman might not have been too bothered about having too many children, but the incentive of money or the incentive of the medal might have made women feel it was their duty to have more children, so the honour cross, the marriage loans. We also have women reducing, and then the last thing you could talk about, you only need to talk about 2 paragraphs in an 8-mark question, but another thing you could talk about is women's role in society goes down. So being told they couldn't be part of jury service, couldn't have an important job, but also the fact that the Lebensborn program allowed people to have sex and then leave these single women shows that actually women maybe didn't get the same respect in society. Even though propaganda was showing them respect if they had a family and a home, actually women were not seen as important as men in Nazi Germany. So Nazi Germany was a much different time from under the Weimar government, and hopefully some of these notes will help you for an 8-mark question.